My name's Yusuf Al-Hakim. I have 43 years. And on the day, April 28th, 2017, I died. No heartbeat, no breathing, no brain activity. The doctors said it was over, but it wasn't over. I came back. And I came back different. Today I'm here to talk to you eye to eye in the most sincere way I can. I grew up in Alexandria, Egypt. In a house where faith wasn't just a ritual, it was the air we breathed. Prayer rugs always ready, thekaran pan on the living room table, the fast in Ramadan is something sacred and non-negotiable. My father taught me to pray when I was little, 6 years. With 10 he used to recite passages from memory. I was the kind of guy who never missed prayer. Fajr in the early hours of the morning, noon at noon, asr the afternoon, evening at sunset, and at night. I did everything with conviction. I thought I knew the way, that I was on the right track. And to be quite honest, I was proud of it. That Friday I woke up at 5 in the morning as always. I washed my hands, face, arms, and feet, gestured carefully, and positioned myself facing Mecca. The silence of the house was pleasant. The city hadn't truly awakened yet. After the prayer I recited for Anathortwenimist. My wife, Samirish, was sleeping peacefully, and I gave her a light kiss on the forehead, the kind you give without making a sound. I went into my son's room. Karimi gently touched his hair and thought, soon I'll teach him the correct posture for prayer, just like my father did with me. That thought warmed me inside. I left home around 6:30. The rising sun bathed the city in that golden light that you only see in those who live near the sea. I put a recitation of the Surata Yosin end. I drove with a calm heart. Stable job, close-knit family, good health, strong faith. What more could a man ask for? I swear, I felt at peace. And I had no idea that I had less than 3 hours off life in that version of me. The avenue I was driving down was part of my daily routine. I already knew the sequence of the traffic lights, the potholes, the vendor who always appeared with a bottle of lukewarm water. The light turned green for me. I stepped on the gas, normal, nothing different, and that's when it happened. In my field of vision to the left, a truck appeared. Fast. Too fast. I remember thinking it's not going to stop. It was as if time stretched. Everything slowed down and at the same time became sharper. I saw the enormous bumper, the peeling paint, the license plate hanging to one side. My foot slammed on the brakes, but there wasn't enough distance left. The impact was brutal. The sound of metal tearing against metal is something you never forget. The airbag exploded in my face, glass flew like sharp rain, and the steering wheel pressed against my chest as if a giant hand were crushing me from the inside. My head hit, bounced back, hit again. I couldn't breathe. It felt like the world had been emptied of oxygen. I tasted blood. Everything blurred. I heard screams, maybe mine, maybe someone else's, and footsteps running toward me. At that exact moment, I thought about what I loved most. I thought about Kareem. I thought of my mother, who always said, son, God sees the heart in silence, and my silence at that moment was absolute. It was like falling into a well where sound doesn't reach. I wanted to breathe, that's all. A single breath, but something heavy held me back. And in the blink of an eye, I knew for sure I was leaving. The voices around me began to sound distant, as if I were submerged underwater. Someone was pulling at the car door, trying to get me out. I wanted to scream. I wanted to tell them degree the declaration of faith that every Muslim must pronounce before dying. There is no God but Allah, but my mouth wouldn't obey. The blood rushed to my throat, and the words, the ones I most wanted to say, simply wouldn't come out. Sirens began to echo in the distance. Soon I felt hands touching my body, cutting the seatbelt, trying to rescue me. I heard hurried voices, medical terms I didn't understand. I was placed on a stretcher. As they lifted me, I saw the sky above me, an intense, beautiful blue, almost ironic in the face of the chaos around me. That's when I thought of Samira and no Kareem. Would I ever see them again? Deep down I realized that would be the end for me. I thought about my actions, my prayers, my fasts, my almsgiving, about the faith I've carried my whole life. In Islam, we believe that good deeds are weighed on a scale, and all I could do was repeat to myself, may mine be enough, my God. The ambulance sped through the streets, and I felt every bump, every curve. One of the paramedics spoke to me, but the sound of his voice already seemed to come from another world. The pain grew, and then, suddenly, it began to disappear, as if it were no longer mine. We arrived at the hospital. Lights too bright, doors slamming, doctors rushing around me, sounds of machines, mixed voices shouted orders. I could still hear everything, but I couldn't respond anymore. It was like being trapped inside a body that no longer obeyed. They cut my clothes, filled my arms with wires and needles. A doctor pressed hard on my chest, and each compression seemed to break the little air I had left. It hurt, but little by little even the pain faded. I heard a firm voice say, "Code Blue. We're losing it." Other hands began to act. Machine gave me a shock. My body convulsed. 1, 2, 3 times. After that, the sound from the monitor faded, until it became a single long sound, bip constant, and then silence. Time of death, 10:47 a.m. At that moment, everything stopped. It's the pain, the noise, the despair, everything. But I remained conscious. I was still me, just outside my body. I felt as if something gently lifted me. It wasn't a physical force. It was as if I simply lost my weight. I floated. I looked down and saw the emergency room. I saw my body stretched out on the stretcher, my chest open, blood splattered. The doctors continued trying to resuscitate that body, which to me already seemed distant. It was like looking at an old piece of clothing I had just taken off. The clarity with which I saw everything was absurd. I could see details, the sweat dripping from a doctor's forehead, the discreet tears of a nurse as she handled the instruments. I looked at the clock on the wall. 10:48. After 10:49. After 10:50, I wanted to shout at them, "Hey, I'm fine. I'm here." But I had no voice, no body. I was just pure consciousness hovering above everything. I heard one of the doctors say, "It's been far too long. 19 minutes without oxygen. Even if he comes back, the brain damage will be severe." Another replied, "One more try. Just one more. I'm not giving up yet." They talked about me as if I wasn't there. And in a way, I wasn't anymore. It no longer belonged to me. My body was just an empty shell, something I didn't want to wear again. That's when I felt something pulling me, not violently, but with an irresistible force. It was as if the very space around me was drawing me in. The hospital gradually dissolved, the voices fading, the lights going out until everything transformed into a dark immensity. But it was a different kind of darkness. Not frightening, not cold. It was silent, as if I were walking through an invisible corridor. I expected to see the angels I always heard about in sermons Avalanacher, the messengers who questioned the dead. I prepared the answers mentally. Allah is my Lord, Muhammad is my prophet, Islam is my religion. But nobody came. No voice, no light, no judgment. Just that constant, gentle movement, like a journey that never ended. That's when doubt crept in, silent and sharp. What if everything I've learned was wrong? What if what awaited me was nothing like what the magnet said? The idea scared me. But at the same time, something inside me knew I was being led to something bigger, something I didn't yet understand. And it was in that instant, as I let myself be guided by this invisible force, that I realized I was no longer alone. There was a body waiting for me. I felt it. Even before I saw it, I felt it. It was that feeling you get when someone is watching you, even if you can't see them. A subtle but unmistakable premonition. All my life, I had prepared myself for this moment, the encounter with Dawn. I fasted, prayed, gave alms, memorized passages from the Quran, everything to be ready. But what I was about to witness would shake all my certainties. The presence grew stronger, closer. I didn't know if I was moving toward it or if it was coming toward me, and then I saw it. One light bit, not ordinary light, like sunlight or a lamp. This light had something alive about it. It didn't just illuminate its instead it had weight, it had presence, it had a soul. As I approached, the light began to take shape. A human outline. A being. And at that moment, if I still had a heart, it would have raced. I was about to meet someone who would change everything I believed to be true. Someone who would turn my world upside down. I was about to meet Jesus Christ. The light intensified, but it didn't hurt. It was strange. On Earth, looking at the sun for a few seconds is enough to blind you. But this light, I could look at it. It was pure, beautiful, welcoming. And the more I looked, the more I realized it reflected nothing. She was the source life emanated from her. Then the human form became clear. And the moment I saw him, too knew who it was. I didn't need anyone to tell me. No explanation, no introduction. My spirit recognized it even before my reasoning could comprehend it. It was him. It was Jesus. But that was impossible. I was a Muslim. In Islam, now Jesus, as we call him, is just a prophet. A righteous man, a teacher, a messenger. He is not God. He did not die on the cross. He did not resurrect. The Quran itself denies this. Then I thought, this is a trial. It's Shaitan trying to deceive me at the moment of death. I must resist. I must declare the Shahada. But no matter how hard I tried, the words wouldn't come. And inside me, something deeper was happening. Something that no doctrine, no logic could explain. What recognized me there wasn't my mind. It was my soul. It was like reuniting with someone you've always known but never seen with your own eyes. Like returning home after being lost for years. His presence was indescribable. His eyes full of tenderness, yet with an authority that didn't need to be imposed. His face serene, without judgment, without anger, without guilt, just love. A love so pure it seemed impossible to contain within me. I felt completely exposed. He saw everything, every thought, every sin, every lie, every ill intention I had ever hidden from everyone. And yet, he loved me. It wasn't the kind of love we understand on earth. It was something that healed, that transcended everything. And the most impressive thing is that he didn't resemble those painted images I grew up seeing with fair skin and blue eyes. No, his appearance was different, universal, as if he belonged to all peoples at the same time. He was the savior of the world, not of one culture, not of one religion, but of all of humanity. And there was light within him. Not reflected light, born of him, and at that moment, I truly understood what was written. God is light. He not only emanated light, hereath light. When his eyes met mine, something happened. It was like falling and being caught at the same time. And then he spoke to me, but not with sound, not with an audible voice. The words went straight into my consciousness, into my essence. He said, "Yusuf, my son." He knew my name. He knew me. The creator of the universe, the one who made all things. I knew who I was. And he called me son. I wanted to run. I wanted to resist. I wanted to repeat the Shahada. I wanted to be faithful to my faith, to my family, to everything I had learned since childhood. But I couldn't. I couldn't speak. I couldn't move. All I could do was to feel, and what I felt was a love so great that it completely disarmed me. Throughout my life in Islam, I had lived trying to win Allah's approval, doing good deeds, fearing hell, hoping that my actions would outweigh my mistakes. But before Jesus, there was no fear. There was only peace. He didn't love me because I deserved it. He loved me because I was his wife. His nature is to love. He loved me before I did anything good. He loved me despite all the bad things I did. He loved me simply because I existed, because I was his creation. Now I ask you, what if everything you believe in were challenged by a truth you couldn't deny? Would you cling to what you've learned? Or would you have the courage to surrender to what you feel is real deep within your soul? There before him, my Muslim mind crumbled. Not because someone convinced me with arguments, but because his presence was undeniable. In that instant, I knew he was not just a prophet. He was neither a master nor a messenger. He was God himself. God, the light emanating from him, grew even more intense. It wasn't a light that merely surrounded me, it passed through me. I felt as if every part of me was being cleansed, exposed, and transformed. Within that vivid clarity, I began to see myself as I truly was. Not the man he pretended to be, nor the man he wanted others to see, but the real me, Yusuf, naked before the truth. I saw my pride. I saw how righteous I thought I was, how much I judged others for not following the faith with the same zeal as I did. I remembered every time I felt superior for praying 5 times a day, while others failed. I saw the hidden sins I disguised, the lies I justified, the anger I called religious zeal. It was all there, laid bare, and he saw it all too. But his face didn't change. There was no disappointment, no revulsion. I already knew I always knew. And even so, I loved myself. It was then that for the first time I found my voice even without a mouth or a body. I said, but the Quran says that the Lord is not God, that calling him the Son is blasphemy, that believing in that is the greatest sin. I trembled. It was the fear of a lifetime of beliefs challenged all at once. He looked at me with that calmness that only those who know the truth can have. His voice didn't come from outside, it came from within me. Yusuf, what is your heart telling you right now? In his presence, I realized it was impossible to lie. Even if I tried, my own soul would betray me. And inside me, everything screamed, it's real. He's real. This is all true. But my mind was struggling. I thought about my family, my community, my identity built upon Islam. If I accepted that, I would lose everything. It was then that he said something that pierced my soul. I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. You have sought God your whole life, Yusuf, and now you stand before him. Those words completely broke me. Then he did something that swept me off my feet. He showed me my life not as a list of good and bad actions, but as a history, a mystery. I saw myself as a boy learning to pray with my father, repeating the surahs with sincere devotion. And Jesus said to me, I saw each of those prayers. I heard every word. Even without knowing it, you were already praying to me. Then I saw my wedding day, the birth of my children, moments of joy and celebration. But I also saw my struggles, my mistakes, my hidden doubts. I saw when I judged others and closed my eyes to my own sins. And in each scene, Jesus was there looking at me with tenderness, patience, and love. I asked almost in despair, but how? The Quran says that the Lord did not die on the cross, that God took him before, that the Lord is only a prophet. He answered me in a voice that combined authority and compassion. Yusuf, who was on the cross, me or Muhammad? Muhammad was only born 6 centuries after me. I died, I bled, I suffered, and I did it for you. For every sin you just witnessed, for every fall, for every mistake, my death was not defeat. It was victory over sin and over death. Suddenly, as if something opened up in my mind, I understood. The Trinity wasn't 3 gods. It was ... one God, revealing itself in different forms, like water that can be ice, vapor and liquid, and still remain water. Or like a man who is father, son, and husband, 3 roles, 1 essence. My human reason did not fully comprehend it, but my spirit understood everything. Even so, I tried to argue, but Muhammad said he was the last prophet. He said the Quran corrected the Bible, that Christians were mistaken about the Lord. And Jesus answered firmly, but with a tenderness that disarmed any resistance, I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. I existed before Abraham was born. I created the universe. I am the Word that was with God and was God from the beginning. I came before Muhammad. I am the fulfillment of all that the prophets announced. I remained silent, and then he said something that completely shattered my former view of faith. I did not come to create a religion, Yusuf. I came to restore the relationship between God and humanity. At that moment, everything made sense. For the first time, I understood the difference between what I practiced and what he offered. In Islam, I spent my life trying to deserve salvation through prayer, fasting, giving alms, pilgrimages, trying to balance the scales of my soul. But in the presence of Jesus, I discovered something entirely new: grace. You don't need to win my love, Yusuf. You already have it. You always have. Not because you're good enough, but because I chose to love you. Salvation isn't about what you do. It's about what I've already done for you. And at that moment, a gigantic weight was lifted from me. The burden of trying to be perfect, the constant fear of making mistakes. For the first time, I felt free, truly free. Not a freedom from rules, but from guilt. A freedom that came from the certainty of being loved. He began to tell me things about myself that no one else could know. He spoke of the sin I had hidden for years, the one I never had the courage to confess. He named it and said, I died for that too. You are forgiven if you wish to receive it. And then he mentioned something that made me shudder. 3 nights before the accident, at 2 in the morning when you couldn't sleep, you said a silent, wordless prayer. I was there. I heard it. At that moment I knew he had always been there, even when I thought I was praying alone. For years I carried within me questions I never dared to ask. In my circle, questioning was forbidden, but deep down something always bothered me. Sometimes I wondered if my prayers, so repetitive and mechanical, had any real meaning, if it wasn't just an empty ritual, a lifeless routine. Was I just obeying traditions without truly knowing God? Now I ask you, you who are listening to me, have you ever felt this too? This feeling of practicing religion but without feeling its presence? Of following rules but without experiencing love? Of trying to be good but deep down knowing it's never enough? I lived with this fear for 39 years, and that was enough. A single moment with Jesus so that all this burden would disappear. I could no longer resist. It was impossible to deny what I was seeing, what I was feeling. So I looked at him and said, if you are real, and I know you are, then everything I believed has crumbled. He simply nodded. His eyes filled with compassion and replied, but I am the rock, Yusuf. Build your life upon me and nothing can shake it. It was at that moment that everything inside me shattered. It was as if a dam had broken. All resistance, all fear, all attempts to hold on to my former faith drained away like water. I cried, even though I had no eyes. Each tear was a surrender. I whispered, Lord ... my Lord. Not just a prophet, not just a teacher. My God, my Savior. Something changed within my soul. It wasn't just a change of opinion or accepting a new idea. It was something profound, a transformation that touched my entire being. Now I understood what it meant to be born again. My spirit was being recreated, renewed, made new. I, who was born and lived as a Muslim, was being transformed into a follower of Christ, not by choice, but by ... revelation, not because someone convinced me, but because I found the living God, and there was no denying it. Jesus smiled. The brightness on his face was indescribable. And then he said, now you are my son, Yusuf. You always were, but now you know it. Now you've come home. I wanted to stay there forever. Everything made sense. No pain, no fear, no doubt. There was only love, peace, and a certainty that no words can explain. But then he said something that broke my heart. "You need to come back, Yusuf." I almost shouted, "No, please don't send me back. I've finally found the truth. I've finally found home." He looked at me tenderly and replied, "Your family needs to hear what you saw. Your people need to know what you discovered. Many will come to me through your testimony. You still have a mission." And as he said this, he showed me scenes of what was to come. I saw the scorn, the rejection, the isolation. I saw my wife turning her face away. I saw my mother calling me a traitor. I saw my children being taught to hate me. I saw threats, persecution, and pain. Then he said in a firm yet loving voice, "It will cost you everything, Yusuf. Your wife will leave you. Your mother will disown you. Your children will be taught to hate you. Some will try to take your life because of this testimony. Are you prepared?" Everything in me wanted to say no. I wanted to beg to stay. But when I looked at his face and remembered what he did for me, the cross, the blood, the love, realized there was no choice. How could I deny the one who gave his life for me? So I answered, "Sir, I don't care about the price. I've seen the truth. How can I go back and pretend I didn't see it?" He smiled again and said, "Many will come to me because of the words you will say. Men and women who are in doubt, who feel the same emptiness you felt. Your pain will bring life to others." Before I could say anything, I felt a force pulling me. It was as if the space around me began to dissolve. The light began to recede. "No, not yet. I don't want to go," I pleaded. And then I heard his voice echoing within me. "I will always be with you, Yusuf, until the end of time. You will never be alone." Suddenly, everything went dark. I felt as if I were falling, being dragged at breakneck speed. The darkness parted and the light of earth reappeared. I saw the hospital below, then the walls of the building, the emergency room, the doctors, and then for the third time I was above my body, the same pale, lifeless body on the stretcher. Suddenly it was as if I had been thrown back into my body with the force of a stone wall hitting me squarely. An indescribable pain coursed through every nerve, as if fire and electricity were coursing through my veins at the same time. My chest felt like it was being crushed by heavy iron. I tried to breathe, but the air simply wouldn't come. Until in an impulse my lungs opened and I inhaled forcefully, choking as if returning from the brink of drowning. The machine started beeping uncontrollably. I heard voices shouting, people running around, hands on me. "He's got a pulse, he's back." "Oh my God, he's back," someone shouted. I could feel their touch, the pressure on my chest, the warmth of their hands. I was back completely, painfully alive. Every bone ached, every part of me screamed, but I breathed. I lived. My eyelids snapped open, and a bright white light nearly blinded me. Faces surrounded me, doctors, nurses, all with expressions of utter astonishment. One of the doctors looked at me as if he'd seen a ghost. It was the same doctor who had declared me dead minutes before. Now, he saw me breathing. Someone shouted, "Can you hear me? Do you know your name?" My throat burned. The words came out weak, hoarse, almost soundless. But what I said made everyone stop. "Jesus. Jesus Christ, ... He saved me." And the silence that followed was heavy. The doctor approached and said in a tense voice, "Sir, you've been in an accident. You're in the hospital. Do you know what day it is today?" But I could barely hear. Kept repeating without stopping, "Jesus is Lord. I saw him. He is real. Jesus saved me." A nurse murmured, "He must be delirious." "That's normal after so long without oxygen," another replied. "Let's check for brain damage." They ran tests. They tested my memory, my reflexes, my speech, everything. And the result? No damage, nothing. My brain was perfect. Better than perfect. A neurologist came in an hour later, repeated the tests, and shook his head in shock. "That's impossible. 20 minutes without oxygen. You should be in a coma. There's no scientific explanation for it." But I knew. I knew exactly what had happened. Jesus had brought me back whole, lucid, so that no one could call what I experienced a hallucination. He gave me back my life so that I could tell the tale. I was rushed to the ICU. My body was destroyed, broken ribs from compressions, bruises everywhere, open wounds. But inside, something was completely new. I was a different man. The Yusuf who had left home that morning had died. What was breathing there was someone reborn. I looked at my reflection in the glass beside the bed. Tubes, bandages, machines. I looked like a corpse. And in a way I was, but there was something different in my eyes. A light, a life that didn't come from the flesh but from the spirit. The hours passed slowly. The sun changed position outside, marking the passage of time. I fell asleep and woke up in short cycles, and in each one the first thought was the same. Jesus. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw his face. That experience didn't fade like a dream. It was more real than the hospital around me. A nurse came in, took my blood pressure, and said with a kind smile, "You were lucky." "We don't often see miracles like that," I replied. "It wasn't luck. It was Jesus." She felt embarrassed, looked away, and tried to change the subject. "His family has been notified. They are coming." My heart raced. My Muslim family. My wife, my mother, my brother. They were all expecting to hear me thank Allah for sparing me. But the man they were going to meet was someone else entirely. I closed my eyes and prayed, but no longer facing Mecca, not in Arabic, not repeating memorized words. I simply spoke to him, "Lord, give me courage. Help me to speak the truth, even if it hurts. Don't let me deny what I've been through. Not after what you've done for me." The door opened. My wife rushed in, tears streaming down her face. Behind her were my mother and brother. Their relief was visible, but soon that relief mingled with confusion. They looked at me with fear, as if they knew something was different, because it was. They thought they had lost me, but there I was, alive against all odds. My mother was the first to speak. "Alhamdulillah, praise be to Allah." She leaned down, kissed my forehead, and let the tears fall down my face. "Allah spared you, my son. He brought you back to us." My wife, Samira, held my hand tightly. "We prayed for you at the mosque." The entire community cried out to Allah to save you, and my brother, standing beside the bed, added, "You scared us, brother. We thought you had gone away. But Allah is merciful." I looked at them, the people I loved most in the world, and knew I was about to break each of their hearts. I took a deep breath and said softly, "I need to tell you something." They approached, expecting to hear words of gratitude to Allah, but what I said was the opposite of what they expected. I died. For about 20 minutes my heart stopped. And in that time, I met Jesus Christ. He spoke to me. He showed me the truth. He brought me back. The silence that followed was heavy, almost suffocating. My mother turned pale. Yusuf, what are you saying?" She shook her head, denying it. "You're confused. It's the medication, the trauma. You don't know what you're saying." "No, Mom," I replied firmly. "For the first time in my life, I know exactly what I'm saying. I saw it. Jesus is real. It's not just a prophet. He is God. He died for our sins and rose again. Everything we've learned is wrong." My brother stepped forward, and the tenderness in his gaze turned to fury. "Stop right now. This is blasphemy. You are committing the greatest of sins." My heart ached, but I couldn't turn back. I cannot deny what I have experienced. I have met the living God face to face. His name is Jesus Christ, and He is the Lord. Samira let go of my hand as if she had set it on fire. "You are no longer my husband. My husband is Muslim. The man who says that is not him." I looked at her, tears in my eyes. "It's me, Samira. For the first time, it's truly me. I have been set free. Jesus showed me that our prayers, fasts, and good works cannot save us. Only His grace saves. Only His blood can forgive us." My mother started crying, not from joy, but from horror. "No, my son, no, you'll go to hell for this. You're condemning yourself. Say it's not true. Say the Shahada now." "I can't, Mom," I replied, my voice breaking. "I've seen the truth. Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through Him." My brother shouted, his face red with anger and despair. "You were tricked by the devil. Shaitan confounded you when you were weak. We need to call the Imam now." But I continued. Even with pain in my chest, my voice grew stronger. "Listen, please, I didn't choose this. I didn't seek this. But when you stand before Jesus Christ, when you feel His love pass through you, there's no denying it. I'd rather die than deny what I've seen." Samira stepped away, crying and trembling. "I cannot be the wife of an unfaithful man. I cannot raise my children with an apostate. You are dead to me." Those words hit me harder than the impact of the truck. Samira, please. I love you. I love our children, but I love the truth even more. I love Jesus because He loved me first and gave His life for me. She left without looking back. My mother went after her, sobbing, too afraid to face me. My brother stood still for a few seconds, his face torn between hatred and pain. "You brought shame to our entire family. You destroyed everything we built. The community will never forgive you. Some will want to kill you for apostasy, and you know it." I simply nodded. "I know. Jesus warned me it would cost everything, and it's worth it." He took a deep breath and said in a cold voice, "You are no longer my brother." He turned his back and left, slamming the door behind him. And there in that hospital room, I was alone, alive in body, but dead to everyone I loved. I cried. I cried until my chest burned and my fractured ribs protested. But even amidst the tears and the pain, I felt Jesus with me. I felt his presence, his peace, his love sustaining me when all seemed lost. The following days were the loneliest of my life. No family members returned. My phone began to fill with hate messages from the Muslim community. They called me a traitor, an infidel, cursed. But in the midst of that piercing silence, I knew I wasn't alone. The following days were a whirlwind. Messages began to arrive, some full of hatred, others begging me to return to the true faith. They called me a traitor, an apostate, a liar. They said I had been deceived by the devil, that I was condemned, that I deserved to die. Some messages contained direct death threats. Others came from friends who begged me, almost crying, to renounce everything and return to Islam. But I couldn't. I had seen too much, felt too much, lived through something that changed everything inside me. On the third day, a Christian chaplain came to visit me. He had heard what I had said when I awoke, the words about Jesus that had shocked the doctors. He sat beside me and with a gentleness I hadn't felt in a long time said, "I heard you mention Jesus Christ. Would you like to tell me what happened?" And I told him, without hiding anything. The death, the encounter, the words, the transformation. He listened to me in silence with tears in his eyes. When I finished, he hugged me and said, "Welcome to God's family, brother. You paid a high price for the truth, but the truth is worth any price." He gave me a Bible. I had never held one before. I grew up hearing that it was a corrupted, distorted book, replaced by the Quran, but when I opened it, I began to read the Gospel of John, and something happened. Every word seemed alive, pulsating within me, echoing what Jesus had told me in the afterlife. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. I read those words with tears streaming down my face. It was him. It was the same Jesus I'd seen. The same one who spoke to me. The same one who brought me back. In him was life. And that life was the light of all mankind. It was all there. Confirmation of what I had lived through, written centuries before I was born. The same love, the same light, the same truth. Weeks passed and my body began to recover much faster than the doctors expected. They called it a miracle. I knew it was another sign that Jesus was still with me. But the deepest pain wasn't physical. It was the separation from my family, an emptiness that hurt more than broken ribs. When I was discharged from the hospital, I had nowhere to go. Samira had changed the locks. I couldn't see my children. I was completely alone. The chaplain took me to a safe house, a shelter run by Christians for converted ex-Muslims. A simple room, but where, for the first time in months, I slept peacefully. On the first Sunday, he invited me to go to church. I confess I went in trembling. Everything was new. I didn't know when to stand or sit. I didn't know the hymns, nor did I quite understand the format of the service. But when they started singing about Jesus, about his sacrifice, about the love that transforms, something inside me exploded. That wasn't a ritual. It was worship. Pure, vibrant, sincere. The pastor made an appeal, inviting anyone who wanted to give their life to Jesus. I had already done so on the other side, between life and death. But even so, I walked to the front. I wanted to declare to the world what had happened to me. When I shared my testimony, I died a Muslim and came back a Christian because I found Jesus. The whole church stood up, clapping, praising God. People I had never seen before hugged me, crying with me. They called me ... brother, and in that embrace I felt more love than I've received from many relatives in my entire life. 2 months later, I was baptized. When I entered the water, I felt as if I were dying again, but this time it was a good death. I died to the past, to guilt, to the old Yusuf. And when I got out of the water, I felt like I was breathing for the first time, like a new man. Some brothers from the church started calling me Ander, the Christian version of my name. I smiled. The name didn't matter because, in fact, I was a different man. But the price continued to rise. Samira filed for divorce. I lost custody of my children. The court claimed that my dangerous conversion made me incapable of raising them. That hurt more than any injury. Knowing that my son was being taught that his father was a traitor, a cursed man. Knowing that my daughter couldn't even say my name anymore. But Jesus kept his promise. He stayed with me. On nights when loneliness weighed like a stone on my chest, I felt his presence embracing me. When the threats increased and I needed to move to another city, he guided me. When doubt tried to overwhelm me, he reminded me of his face, of that moment when eternity touched me. And then things started happening that only God could do. People started looking for me, doubtful Muslims. People with questions, with the same emptiness I felt before. An old friend contacted me secretly, wanting to hear everything that happened. 3 weeks later, he gave his life to Jesus. Then came another. And another. I understood. That was my mission. Not to convert with arguments, but to bear witness with what I had lived. To tell whoever wanted to listen, I died. I found him. He is real. He changed me. And he can change you too. 6 months after my death and resurrection, I received a call. It was my mother. She wanted to see me. 6 months after everything, I met my mother again. We sat in a small coffee shop, the same kind of place I used to take her to on birthdays. She seemed different, older, tired, as if the weight of longing had dimmed some of the sparkle I always saw in her eyes. "Yusuf," she began, her voice trembling, "I miss you. Please come home, give this up. Abandon this madness and come back to your family." I took a deep breath. My heart was heavy, but the peace that Jesus gave me was still there, firm. "Mom, I love you, more than anything. But I can't deny what I've seen. Jesus is real. He is the only way to God. I want you to know him too. I want you to experience the love that saved me." She lowered her eyes, shook her head silently, and tears began to fall. She stood still for a few seconds, trying to hold back her sobs. When she raised her face, her gaze was no longer one of hatred, but of confusion and pain. "You've always been a good son," he said softly, "but I can't understand what they made you believe." She got up and left in a hurry without looking back. I stayed there, alone, with the already cold coffee on the table, and at that moment I understood that even with a broken heart I had planted a seed. Since that day I pray for her every day. I pray for Samara, for my children, for every person who still lives trapped in the fear and emptiness that once consumed me as well. I pray that one day they will see the same Jesus that I saw. The journey wasn't easy. I lost almost everything. But I gained something the whole world can't take from me, the truth, and this truth has a name, Jesus Christ. He saved me, transformed me, and gave me a new life. And if you're listening to me now, no matter who you are, where you come from, or what you believe, if he did it for me, he can do it for you too.